Hi, everyone, and welcome back to the show. Today, I'm talking about the importance of building diverse teams and creating the workforce of the future. To do that, I've got two wonderful ladies on the show. I have Jean Panagamuwa, and she is the Chief Data Risk Officer at Capital One. And I have Rachel Keane, who's the Chief Data Inspirer at Data Inspiration Group. So, ladies, welcome along to the show. Thanks for coming.
Thanks for having us.
Yeah, thanks for having us, Jason.
No problem. Shall we start with getting you guys introduced to everyone, please? So, Jean, why don't we start with you?
Sure. So I'm Jean. I work at Capital One. I've been there about 18 years, and I'm currently the Chief Data Risk Officer. I used to be Head of Data Analysis, building teams of up to 40 analysts and creating a nice, diverse environment for all our associates.
Fantastic. Well, I look forward to hearing a bit more about that journey and what you've done there. Rachel, how about you?
Okay, so I'm Rachel Keane. I'm the Chief Data Inspirer at the Data Inspiration Group. I've just recently launched the DigData program, which is a virtual work experience offering for young people to understand more about data and the breadth of roles.
Fantastic. And of course, there's a relationship between you guys, which is why you're together, which I'm looking forward to exploring a bit more, working together with that work experience program and the work that Capital One are doing. But before we get into that, it'd be great to sort of start with diversity in general. So I think, there's lots of different facets and angles to diversity, but I wouldn't mind it sort of exploring why it's important generally in society and organizations, and then specifically in data, actually. So, Jean, where's the sort of interest for you? Why is this an important part of what you're doing and how you're sort of operating?
Well, I think to me, it does go back to that societal issue, right? I think every single person, young or old in society, has an opportunity or should have equal opportunity to range of careers, experiences, and what they want to do. And to do that, they need to see people they can relate to and they can understand. So just widening up people's perspectives is massively important to me, and it should be important to all organisations, regardless of what they're trying to do, because it just increases the discussion and the debate when you have more people in the room.
Is that about kind of creating more role models?
I think so. Yeah, more role models. You know, if you can't see someone doing what you want to do or what you might want to do, then it's very hard to understand how you might get there. And I think it's making people aware, you know, if the role model isn't there, if it's not that hard, you know, you just need to have these, well, in data particular, breaking down some of those misconceptions about what you need to succeed is really important, because the opportunity really is there for everyone. And I think that's why I love DigData. Expanding people's mindsets, everyone's mindsets, to understand that helps start to drive some of that change.
Rachel, what are you seeing on that?
Well, absolutely. I think what we need to do is dispel this kind of myth and this fear, actually, certainly in young people, that actually to work in a data career that you have to necessarily be a mathematical genius. Because, yeah, of course, for a number of very technical roles, there's always going to be, you know, that requirement to have that kind of applied sort of mathematical statistical background. But actually, the way the industry has evolved so significantly, as have the requirements for different skills, you know. Yep. Industries continuing talking about sort of storytelling and curiosity and problem solving, and that comes in lots of different individuals, not necessarily people that are, you know, grade A maths students.
Yeah. Interestingly, are either of you from a maths background?
I'm not.
I am. So yeah, my degree is in mathematics, but that's not true for all data analysts and analysts.
No, quite. I mean, I've had not a year. I've had a career in data. That's been more than a year, and I have no maths or technical background at all. I sort of came through a business analysis, project management, you know, more general kind of business awareness sort of route. And people are always sort of amazed that I can't code. I don't know, my maths is terrible. And so, and a lot of particularly chief data officers that I have on this show, the backgrounds are, you know, I would say 9 out of 10 aren't from that kind of mathematical, statistical, analytical even background. And they've come from all sorts of sort of commercial roles and marketing roles and geography background, all this kind of thing. So, and is there a problem? Like, what problem are we solving here? I think the aspiration of making a more diverse society and etc. is a good one, and you guys are clearly making some good progress on that. But what problem have we got that means this is something we need to focus on?
Well, I think the first problem we've got is that there's a huge skill shortage. in data. That's your first problem in industry. The other major problem that we have is actually we're not communicating the skills that are required in data with education. We're not doing that at university. We're often talking about, inspiring at grassroots level, but quite often that starts and stops at university students who have already made their kind of final decision, and for lots of university students that they finish their studies at undergrad. We need to be talking to students where they're making actually really large decisions for the first time, which is at secondary school. They're making decisions about their options, further education, are they going to go on to higher education? Is there an apprenticeship scheme? And if we don't communicate what's out there, then we've got a massive problem. So we not only do we need to communicate to the students, but we need to talk to the people that are actually engaged with the students for the majority of the time, teachers, lecturers, professors, career leads. And until we do that, then we're always going to see this kind of disconnect.
Do you see that, Jean, as well in the recruitment and building teams, that kind of skills shortage, lack of available options for who can fill the positions that you have?
I think we see some of it, yeah, for sure. And you see quite a lot of similarities between people that are coming through the process, and there is a well-known, I think, lack of skill shortages in data. And I agree with Rachel. And this isn't saying that the schools are doing anything wrong if they only have a limited amount of time, but it's just making them just more aware, and an easy way for them to access that, it's not just about the maths. It is about the curiosity. It's about the problem solving. It is about that innovation. They are all things that everyone uses every day without realizing. And everyone uses data to make these decisions. Getting people to connect that to, it's the same with a business problem. It's just it's a different problem to solve. It's the same skills.
Is this a skills shortage then, or is this more a lack of understanding about the base level of skills needed to do some of the jobs? So if we're saying there's a skills shortage of people with a maths background, I could probably agree with that. Not, I don't have the stats, I don't know, but that you can kind of connect with that. But if this is actually, there's a whole bunch of skills that are relevant to today's job market, particularly in data, that aren't the traditional sort of maths and technology background, is that really what we've got? A sort of disconnect between what's needed and what people understand is needed, rather than an actual shortage?
Well, I think there is an actual shortage. The National Data Strategy recorded in 2019 100,000 vacant data roles. There is a recorded shortage.
Yeah.
To your point, I think actually because of this disconnect, there is a massive problem with talking to teaching staff and educators to actually showcase that maths is important, it's a core subject, but all of these wonderful skills that we're nurturing as young adults and our personality types, which bring diversity to a team, diverse thinking, diverse ways of learning, delivery, it is exactly what industry needs. So I think it's a two-way street. It's a two-way problem.
Yeah, I'd agree with that, and I'd say because maths is important. We need people in the data industry that have maths degrees as well, but we also need people with humanities degrees and like psychology degrees, and people that understand human interaction and connection, and people with work experience from different industries that can come in and they can transfer knowledge across industries. There's so many different ways you can get into data careers, and it's just, I think, educating people on that will help with some of it, but there's still a shortage, and this is one of the ways to help solve that, is just connecting some of the dots about the opportunities that are there for people.
Absolutely. And I think you look at the different personalities and the different roles required in any kind of data team, none of them work without one another. You need somebody that is really, really technical, but equally on the other extreme, we need somebody that can go into a team or into a business and be able to scope out a business problem by asking the right questions, provoking those questions and communicating that back, and then everything else in between. There really is a place, I believe, for everybody to belong in the world of data. And, the government are now hoping that we can inspire young people to prepare them for a data-rich career in life, because irrespective of whether you feel that you're working in the data industry, every single role is using data.
Yeah, well, that's the thing. There are roles that are preparing an organization for being able to use data. That's what we sort of tend to talk about with roles in data. But as you say, certainly it's not there yet, but certainly there are some organizations where data is fundamental to decision making, and therefore the level of literacy needed in order to do, roles, I don't know, a brand manager in a retailer, or someone working in logistics or a warehouse. There are data capabilities required in order to make better operational and strategic decisions about an organization. They are fundamental skills required regardless of whether you're in data or not. But we also have obviously a collection of people that are there to develop data products, develop data systems, create dashboards, prepare stories, guide an organization. Is there a skills gap and or lack of diversity in both those camps, if I can sort of separate them out like that? And is one harder than the other?
I think that there's, the skills gap is a hard one, because there is always people out there you can find with the skills. Whether or not you've got the diversity there at the moment is probably the challenge for me. And I think you see a lot of movement between companies of similar people. It's getting the new people in, it's getting the new perspectives in. I think everyone knows that there's a lack of certain characteristics and like demographics at senior levels. I mean, that's a wide problem, and that's a long-term problem to solve that takes years, that lots of organizations are now getting into, and I think this is where you're seeing some of the attraction pieces change at the beginning of people's careers. I think what this for me is doing with the DigData program, and why getting to kids at secondary school and onwards is important, is because it's starting to change again the people that are going to be selected or attracted. It's widening up people's thing, and I think that for me is why it's a multi-year problem, and you can tweak at the end of the journey, but getting at the beginning of the journey is what's going to drive real change.
I think to your point earlier, Jason, when we were having a chat about, the amount of kind of senior leaders that haven't come from a mathematical background, they've come from a marketing background or a history background or a geography background. It's actually about explaining that to young people across that kind of education piece, that actually just because you make a decision does not mean that you're in a rabbit hole. You can transition, you can develop, you can nurture, and as long as you're bringing yourself and these skills, your key skills to the table, and understanding what opportunity is out there, that's when you can explore new things. That's when you can develop new things, because you never actually finish learning, do you? Every day you learn something new, and actually it's about inspiring young people that you can do whatever you want to do. There's in such a fortunate position that data is everywhere, so you can really take a passion of yours that you love, take your key skill, and then really sort of pick and choose your academic ability, combine them, and there is a data role out there. It's just the fact of we need to dispel this myth that if we use the word data or analyst in a job title, they sort of go, oh my God, that sounds really scary. But kids at secondary school, in something like 85% of their secondary school subjects, they're using data. They just don't realise it. And it's not always about numbers, is it? It's about sort of analysing your approach to a problem. That is something that we need to kind of communicate down.
And I think that's a good point, Rachel. People are using this all the time, and I think when their parents say to them, you can only watch one more thing on TV, or one more thing on Netflix, or play one more game, they use some kind of decisioning process or data there, and do I pick the thing I like or the thing that's the longest, and they weigh up different bits and pieces. Everyone's doing this, they just don't know they're doing it, and it is the semantics around the word data and analyst that people currently have in this like very hardline box, when it's a lot broader than that.
Yeah, we definitely need to kind of soften those edges. And to your point there, actually, I spent many, many months in my teenage brain working on this project, which, has been interesting to say the least. But, if you think about any kind of average friendship group, there's different characteristics, different personalities. And, certainly when you're a teenager, you are continually problem solving. How do I stay later at that party? How do I get more pocket money? How do I do this? How do I do that? To a game. And there's somebody that will be the problem solver, will be somebody that will be the front man or woman that will engage with the project. There's somebody that will always be very secretive. And you could translate that into a privacy or GDPR type role. We're all harnessing these skills individually. It's about pulling it out of people. And we said this a million times already. If we don't show people what's out there, and we don't show them how useful their key skills are, who they actually are is useful, how do you take that to the next level? And there's so much work to do, but it's such an exciting piece. Because it's really thinking about your future in a completely different way. You're not putting a square peg in a round hole. You don't have to trawl through loads of job specifications. You need to understand who you are to be able to put yourself out there to see what fits.
Yeah, I like the idea. Yeah, I love that idea of I think you mentioned it earlier anyway, but connecting the dots between the base skills that you have. Forget about the sort of job titles, but the base skills that you have and what is needed to work in an organization, what is needed to be in a data team, what is needed in order to solve business challenges. And you grow up with these skills or learn these skills and grow up developing in various routes, and you learn to forget them. They stop being important. You don't recognize them, so you can't connect that they're good things for these sort of different jobs. So that connecting the dots between what exists as roles and what base skills are needed. But it does that. I mean, at Capital One, for example, is that a because I can foresee a way of recruiting here, which isn't sort of more traditional route of having a job specification with a level of responsibilities and background skills. It's much more about finding and identifying people that have a base set of capabilities, and then finding the best sort of place to put them. Certainly early careerers, people early on in roles. Is that something that you're doing at Capital One? Are you changing the way you bring people in so that you unearth those great skills and then apply them to the right thing, or is it much more blending the traditional way with that way of thinking?
I think it's got to be about the blend. I think because in reality there is a base level of like certain testing you need to do, right? Just from a practical perspective. But I think what we've moved away from, if I think about a long time ago when I applied at Capital One, I think I sat through like 2 or 3 analyst tests, 4 cases, etc. And I think about what we do now, we probably have like 1 or 2 of them, and then you've got other things like you've got a team activity, and you've got like a strengths thing where we ask questions, and you've got to like tell us what you see when you look at this data piece. So we've kind of like blended the two together, because then those natural skills come out. Because I think one of my personal beliefs is, if you've got that curious mindset and you ask questions and you ask them in different ways, and you want to learn, I can teach other things. I can teach someone how to code. I can teach someone about the business. That innate curiosity and that innate want to solve problems, that ability to connect dots, you can teach that. It's a lot harder. And I think that goes back to your skills point, Jason, that there are skills, and there are like almost like taught skills, like you learn maths and you learn science. And I think some of the hard skills that put people off data or analyst that exist in some of the data analyst roles, not all, are those skills that you can teach, whereas people don't realize their natural curiosity will get them 70% of the way there. And I think that's what we need to get to. But yeah, we've definitely changed the interview mix over the past decade plus.
Yeah, well, it's interesting. We spoke about this before when we were briefing actually for this. Is this whole, the way the school system is really set up is around subjects. It's around those taught skills. It's around maths. It's around science. It's around geography. That they're in those categories, rather than I'm going to a problem solving lesson or I'm going to a team working session. And I know from my own experience, my kids at school, I know that they try and bring that out, but it's still quite, the lessons are called the name of the subject, not the skill that you're trying to aspire to or attain to. So there's sort of something built into our society that puts people in these lanes. So it's great to hear that they're sort of trying to break free of that. So let's talk about this DigData. So you've mentioned it a couple of times. So how is kind of this program coming together? What value does it add to Capital One, to the way you're bringing in people, and what value are you hoping it will add? Rachel, do you want to take what the DigData program is to start with?
Yeah, well, that might be a good idea. Okay, well, I mean, the DigData program is, has been created because, clearly everyone should dig data, you know, from what we've just been talking about. It is being used in schools. And to your point, it's being taught in sort of 80–85% of subjects. But actually, you know, if you've got a child that really likes geography and has taken it as an option, to be able to apply those geographical skills to something that is analytical or something that is applied to the workplace really opens up their mind as to what's out there. You know, and the Dig Data program was very much about doing just that, giving young people an opportunity from sort of year 7 all the way up to university across 3 kind of key groups to engage with employers, to engage with different industry sectors where they could use what they're learning every day to a world of work problem and use data to solve it. Now, again, yes, of course, we want to attract those natural kind of STEM kind of ambassadors that absolutely love maths and numbers. But equally, we want to pull in, you know, lots of different students that are creative, you know, that are strong communicators, because we want to see how they approach that problem and how they deliver their work. And it's been incredible. You know, we've had very young people submit some code. We've had people, you know, produce videos, produce real strong infographics, and that is what we're looking at here. We're looking at, you know, young people being inspired by businesses and opening up their mind as to, you know, who they can work for. You know, sometimes, you know, we're reaching all the kids across the whole of the UK, and what we want to do is make sure that we're influencing young people that are perhaps in areas of the country where they don't have that visibility to big brands. You know, one of the case studies, I spoke to a head of maths at a secondary school and sixth form college in Newquay, and he loved the programme because, you know, naturally Newquay is an area of the country which is lots of travel and tourism. You know, they don't have visibility to big brands. Their idea of working for Barclays is behind a counter. It's not in Canary Wharf. You know, their idea of Just Eat is jumping on a bike. It's not working in their insight team. And what we want to do is we want to provoke this kind of inspiration inside them to say, I can do this, or I'm good at that. What do I need to do now to prepare myself for the future? Is it an apprenticeship? Does it need to be university? You know, where do I need to relocate? What does that mean for me? And it's all about this preparation tool, because you know as well as I do, going to university is great fun. You know, it's a brilliant time of your life. But, you know, it's also incredibly scary. And, you know, and it's quite an anxious time to be all of a sudden move 200 miles away, move 50 miles away. If you can start preparing people for what's out there, not only just in their skills, but steps forward, that's what it's about. And equally, it's a great tool for teachers as well, because it gives them an opportunity for them to use their subject in a homework task, and for the children to also get virtual work experience certification. Great for CVs, great for motivation. You know, it's a really positive program for all.
Amazing. And Jean, is that I assume all that resonates you? I think you've been through this program, you're about to get it kicked off, but what's the story of how you have sort of taken this on, and what value are you hoping it will add to your team and business?
Well, for me, a lot all of what Rachel said resonates. Actually, for me, it is just about the reach, right? You know, we can go to as many career fairs as many universities we want, but we're only going to ever reach a small number of people. This is capturing people early. It's capturing people all over the UK. There's no exclusions. It's open to all, you know, everyone's invited. And that's one of the reasons why I love it. Also, as a parent, I love it if my child, when they hit year 7, year 8, gets to do this. Just the thought of them solving it. It's exciting. And I think, as I said, going back to one of my earlier points, everyone deserves the opportunity to understand what's out there for them and the potential they could have. I think for Capital One itself, you know, we want our workforce to represent society. I think every organisation does. You know, to be able to develop those inclusive, representative products, whatever industry you're in, you need your workforce to represent your customers. You can have a debate in a room with 5 people. If those 5 people all have the same backgrounds, you're not going to have the right discussion. You know, you're going to get to a certain outcome. You're not going to have that perspective. So for me, it helps us get to that point. And I think the reason I'm here with Rachel is because Capital One, I've just got his partnership with DigData, and our challenges are launching next year, starting off with the career panel for everyone's invited to that as well, but that on the 20th of January, and then our challenges after that. So that's why I'm here, because we've got those challenges, we've got those business problems for students, or actually anyone that wants to come along and solve them, right? And I think that's what's it to me. Everyone's invited. It should be. And I think one of the positives of COVID and the pandemic is now the majority of students, because of various outreach programs, etc., have access to the internet. They have the devices, and all you need for this is an internet link, and you can just click and you can come and join us. You know, it's free. Come and find out what's there. Come and have a look at the opportunities. Come and solve some problems. And I'm really looking forward to seeing the range of answers we get. You know, we are going to get some people that go deep. We're going to get some people that have random ideas that we've never thought of. You know, we're going to get all of that, and just seeing some of that will just again remind us that increased perspective, diversity, and opinions gets different answers. I mean, can you imagine one problem? We're going to have like 50 plus, 100 plus different solutions to it, just because everyone thinks differently. And that's amazing.
What I love about what you're doing and doing there is this is, you know, normally, from my experience, organizations will focus on the kind of the end of education and as you say, careers fairs at universities, and people want from the top universities, so it's sort of it just by default, you know, it sort of narrows the diversity anyway. Sort of, we don't need to get into the diversity of education, but what I love about this is A, it's broad, but B, this is a medium long-term investment. You know, I guess 95% of these people, you know, will go off in different paths, and so this isn't recruitment, is it, for you, Jean? This is a kind of longer term play in helping to broaden the understanding of what working is like, and you're sort of almost investing and betting on the future rather than it necessarily being on a recruitment now sort of objective.
Yeah, absolutely. Obviously it probably is going to have some recruitment benefit for us, but one of our CSR goals is to have that impact into society and to help local communities and to help open up eligibility. So that's always been in you know, our corporate social responsibility goals, because it's our belief as a big company, it's our responsibility to help do that, and you do that by being involved and being part of the discussion. So yeah, for me, you know, and if they end up at Capital One, great. If they end up somewhere else, great. You know, if we've managed to change 1, 2, 3, 4 young people's lives and get them to have a different outcome or understand they've got different opportunities, you know, that's brilliant, and that's worth the investment and worth the time.
I think from you know, the benefits for industry, as Jean said, you know, of course, there's always going to be an immediate gain with the kind of step up members, of course, because we're giving them visibility to employers and roles and opportunities that are out there. Naturally, there could be more direct applications, which is great for any employer. You know, for education, it's fantastic because, you know, they're hit quite hard with Gatsby benchmarks, which are essentially 8 rules that are set by the government about good career guidance. And our entire program hits 6 of those, which is completely free, and they don't have to do anything additional to their already busy agenda. So, you know, that's really exciting. And, you know, it's a really good continuous professional development tool as well for employers, because it really gets everybody involved to volunteer, to become part of something, to become a voice of a brand, you know, to become more than the analyst, more than the person, you know, to really start putting their best foot forward, and, you know, for an industry that needs it. And it's a great, you know, it's a great training tool. You know, I've seen I won't mention any names, but the partners that I've worked with so far, we've had immense fun. And I've actually seen people more nervous quite rightly, presenting to teenagers than they have probably to board members, because the one thing we all have in common, Jason, is this: we've all been kids, we've all been teenagers, we've all been young adults. We know the capability, you know, of that type of audience. But it's really quite exciting when you take yourself back to being that person, and then being able to relate something that you're doing quite high level to their level, and understanding and seeing this kind of, you know, excitement and inspiration through the chat and just through their work. It's incredibly rewarding.
I think the effort to articulate the problem, articulate what this data thing's about, articulate you know, how business works to a group of people that frankly haven't learned that yet. I think that skill in its own right is a good one, because I think it applies to explaining to, you know, in work peers of yours as well. You know, we do need to simplify message. We do need to demystify. I think it sort of has broader benefit than just explaining to a 11, 12, 13-year-old. I think the same messages you could take to your senior leadership team, your middle managers, and all the rest of it. So yeah, I think there's broader appeal here.
Oh, for sure. We've got a team of people from across the business doing a hackathon on Monday to build these challenges out. And we've got that diverse range of people in the room so that we all have some of that different perspective. Because yeah, it's not an easy challenge. I remember what I was like when I was that age, and I probably wasn't an average teenager, not that there is one. So trying to build the challenges is a really good activity for some of our associates to do. And yeah, that's really exciting as well.
Brilliant. What are the kind of it feels like there's some halo benefit, Jean. I know you sort of talked about sort of diversity and sort of the future, medium long-term play, help for society rather than just recruitment for you guys. But I don't know, the fact that you're doing it, the noise that it will create, the brand recognition, it feels like there's probably some halo benefit to interacting with an audience that feels like it's sort of a newer thing for you to be doing. So is there some sort of broader benefit within Capital One and what you're trying to achieve to being involved with, I guess, grassroots skills development?
Yeah, I think so. We do have a couple of other programs I'm obviously not going to mention now where we do this, but there's definitely a halo effect, and also hopefully a nudge to other organizations that it's everyone's responsibility to make sure the next generation is set up for success, and our next sort of future leaders that go into all careers are making the right decisions for them. That is everyone's responsibility. And yes, it has a halo effect for Capital One. Obviously, I'm not going to try and dissuade that, but it should also encourage others to step up a bit as well and to say, yes, we can do this, we can invest the time, the younger generation are our responsibility. And I hope it does that as well. I hope it gives us good benefit, obviously. I work here and I want Capital One to benefit from it, but I just hope it makes that impact and does change people's perspectives.
Yeah. Brilliant. Well, I think this sort of title at the top of this was the importance of building diverse teams, which I think we've covered nicely. But creating the workforce of the future, I think we've done even more justice to. So I think it'd be a great time to wrap up there. I just want to thank you both for the work that you're doing, because I think I'm so buoyed by this. I have a 11-year-old in year 7, and I have no idea what his path's going to be now. I'm just learning his character, really, his sort of true adult character. So I can my mind sort of spins about his involvement he could have with something like this. So I think it's brilliant what you guys are doing. I think it's brilliant the investment Capital One are making outside of the benefit for their own organisation, and Rachel for getting this thing set up and championing diversity and grassroots development. So appreciate you guys being on the show. Thank you so much.
Thank you for having us.
Yeah, thanks for having us. It's been great.
Thanks a lot, and I hope everyone enjoyed the discussion, and we'll catch you again soon.